Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Monday, September 27th, and I'm Blair Kirkhoff. We're doing something today we've done only one other time on this podcast. Talk about a second straight Chiefs loss. Sunday's 30-24 loss to the Chargers at Arrowhead Stadium followed last weekend's heartbreaking loss at Baltimore, and it's the first time since early in the 2019 season, that's a few months after this podcast started its daily routine, that the Chiefs had lost on successive weekends. The loss to the Chargers happened primarily because of turnovers. The Chiefs gave it away 4 times, and LA scored 3 touchdowns off those errors. Still, the Chiefs had 2 leads in the second half and had the ball with 2.5 minutes remaining with the game tied, and they still couldn't put away this game. So afterwards, columnists Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian, along with beat writers Herbie Teope and Sam McDowell, hashed out the game, the problems, what needs to happen, and we talked about it on a program that started as a SportsBeat Live. So let's get this podcast started.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to SportsBeat Live, where we discuss the Chiefs with you and the folks who cover the team for the Star. We've got Sam Mellinger and Herbie Teope here. I'm hoping soon to be joined at Hope, and Hope is delivered with Sam McDowell, and maybe, just maybe, if we cross our fingers, Vahe Gregorian will join us at some point as well. So we already got a lot of questions that we got to get to. Let's quickly review what happened. Maybe give you a little news update as well. So Chiefs lose here today at Arrowhead Stadium to the LA Chargers, 30-24. The story of the game is clearly the giveaways by the Chiefs. There were 4, count them 4, including the first 3 possessions, which ended in turnovers for the Chiefs. We were all dumbfounded. All of these happened after the Chiefs had driven into Chargers territory. So we'll get into that in a big way. But first, just an update on Andy Reid. He did not come to the post-game press conference, and there was a little bit of a delay, right, guys? You guys were downstairs. I stayed in the press box. It seemed like there was a bit of a delay that before, longer than usual for a press conference to start, and then it was special teams coach Dave Tobe who came out and took some questions, and we're told then that Andy Reid was feeling ill, had addressed the team after the game, but was feeling ill and did not come out to the post-game press conference. Then I don't know, a few minutes later, James Palmer of the NFL Network tweeted that Andy Reid had been taken by ambulance to a local hospital as a precautionary measure, and the Chiefs did not confirm this, but that's kind of what the latest is now. I think that if we can speculate a little bit. It was a really warm day here at Arrowhead. It was 81 degrees at kickoff, and by the end of the game, temperatures were in the low 90s. So that may have played a factor in what happened to Andy Reid. And I expect we'll get an update pretty soon on Andy. If it happens during the show, we'll certainly bring it to you. Okay, Herbie, let's start with you. I mentioned the turnovers. There's a lot more to discuss about this, but you turn the ball over 4 times and you don't create a takeaway, that pretty much seals your fate, does it not?
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? Dave Tobe mentioned it after the game. He says statistics show that if you're losing the turnover battle, you're just not going to win in the National Football League. And he's absolutely correct. Patrick Mahomes echoed him during his post-game press conference and said the same thing. You can't have 4 turnovers and expect to win. Oddly enough, they still score 2 points and they're still in the game, but that's just asking way too much when you're giving up, when you turn the ball over that way, and then you're not stopping the other team from scoring. That's where that big disparity happens, and they shot themselves in the foot with self-inflicted wounds, and second straight week they caught up with them. That's 6 turnovers now in the last 6 quarters of play. That's not good.
Yeah, well, if you count the way the Baltimore game ended, that was 4 in a row, 4 straight possessions, and 5 out of 6 going back to last week in Baltimore. Sam McDowell, great to see you again. It's been a while, and really good to have you back. So what else can be said about this? Why in the world have the Chiefs all of a sudden become a sloppy football team?
Yeah, I think that sloppy is the right word. I think careless is another word. It's to me been a little bit of a long time coming. I mean, the Chiefs last year won a lot of games like this, and I think Patrick Mahomes talked about it with us in the offseason that they sort of learned that they can win despite making mistakes. In these last 2 weeks, they're learning how much mistakes can cost them football games. Obviously, a lot of the emphasis will be on how this game ended. But it's the first half that is going to be really the culprit for why they lost this game with turning the ball over on not just 3 consecutive drives, but 3 drives when they were moving the ball at will. I mean, they did not even face a third down on those first 2 drives. The turnover was the only way the Chargers were going to get stops on either one of those drives. So, like I said, I think that you would hope, obviously, that the way they lost last week would be enough of a lesson. But I think that this should really be cemented, the fact that you can't turn the ball over early in games. You can't make the mistakes like that they've been making over these past couple of weeks, even early in games, because as much as it worked out for them so often at the end of last year, that's not always going to be the case.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Melly, it was almost a minor miracle that even with three turnovers to start the game, to begin the game for the Chiefs, that they had the lead in the second half a couple of times, right? 17-14 and 24-21, and had the game tied and had possession with 2.5 minutes remaining. I couldn't first of all, I couldn't believe the turnovers. We haven't seen anything kind of quite like that in the Mahomes era, 4 in all, and a lot of other things that you just shake your head at. But to me, I think I come away maybe most surprised that in a situation where the game is tied, the Chiefs have the ball, and need to go, I don't know, for Butker's range, 40 yards or something, and have 2.5 minutes in all their timeouts. They go 2-yard run by Edwards-Helaire, kind of a bad throw by Mahomes that Kelsey couldn't handle, and then the interception, the 4th turnover of the game for the Chiefs. For them to not find something there and be able to create something there, that'll be one of my lasting memories of this game.
It's pretty wild. They not just the 4 turnovers, but they didn't get any turnovers, right? Like the Chargers turned the ball over 0 times, and to have a chance to win at the end of the game is pretty ridiculous. When those are the facts of the game, I just to me, and I don't know if this is just projecting or if I'm seeing things that aren't there or whatever, but Chiefs, sometimes they look, and Sam just mentioned the pattern last season, they look like a team that's just expecting the talent to take over and that the talent will win the day. And they're allowing some sloppiness to go on because they get away with it, and they have. And I'm just really curious on that specific point. Dave Tobe, who is more honest in press conferences, he'll say some stuff sometimes that maybe the head coach wouldn't. And he called it a crossroads, like this moment. And this is an early season crisis. And I'm, for one, just really interested to see how they deal with it, because they've been saying, like, if you think like last year, worst in the red zone, right? The defense. And then they spent the whole offseason talking about fixing the red zone. Now they're even worse. Mahomes, that 20-0 thing, we've talked about this a million times. That was not to go 20-0. That was for daily focus and to clean up some sloppiness. We've seen them be sloppy. So they've had this sort of, there's some stuff here going on where they say one thing and they're not backing it up. And I wonder if there's going to be, some hard conversations behind closed doors this week.
God, that red zone defense. We'll talk about that as well. But let's welcome in Vahe. Hey, Vahe.
Hey, Blair. Hi, guys. I see, Blair, you've got that red background behind you to reiterate the red zone issues.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's a good place to need to start a conversation. Let's just pick it up there. I think the streak got up to 12 in a row of opponents scoring touchdowns in the red zone, 12 for 12 this year. Into today, and finally it stopped with a field goal, and maybe the defense's best moment, right? The Chargers get down to the 1-yard line in the final minutes of final minutes. It didn't go overtime, but they get a illegal formation penalty, I believe, pushed them back to the 6, and they could not get it in. Had to settle for the field goal, and I thought at that point that was a victory. It was a big victory for the Chiefs. 24-24, 2.5 minutes to go. They'll get a field goal, win this thing, just like we thought last week, right? Just take care of the ball, and they'd already moved into Butker's range. Just get the field goal, beat Baltimore, and I think that says something about this team that, they had incredibly poorly timed turnovers last week that cost them at Baltimore, and today to be -4 in turnover ratio, you're not going to beat anybody, much less a team that has good talent like Justin Herbert and the Chargers. So, what did you end up writing about, Vahe?
I'm writing a little bit about Patrick, but to your point, Blair, I mean, it's like, they're learning that they can't get away with cramming for the final exam anymore, right? I mean, that you gotta win the game in the first 58 minutes. Or it's helpful to establish yourself in the first 58 minutes. I think, despite last week, we all thought they were going to probably score with what they did at the end. And again, there's a turnover. So it's funny, for all that talk about the extra urgency, being ready, play every snap, the basis for the 20-0, as Sam pointed out, it's really not been there. What is weird is they are. I mean, other than the consistency of the red zone whiffs, they're kind of losing these games in little different ways, right? I mean, and each has required self-inflicted issues. If they don't make a bunch of mistakes last week that we think they don't normally make, and they don't make those 4 turnovers today, they're kind of getting away with it, seems to me.
Finding a way to lose is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's the reverse of what we've seen, right? And I think, I don't know who it would have been. One of the guys on this call probably wrote a finding a way to win thing. Oh, it was me. I think after the Cleveland game, maybe, and that's really not happening anymore.
No, it isn't. So let's look at those turnovers. I rarely do we criticize Patrick Mahomes for a poor play. Herbie, the last time we talked with you, we're getting a little interference. Let's see if that's cleared up. But on the first turnover, the Chiefs drive to about the 33. Patrick Mahomes looks downfield. He has Marcus Kemp, of all the wide receivers, open about 10 yards in front of him. The ball sails off Kemp's shoulder. It deflected and intercepted, ending the Chiefs' drive. Who's to blame there?
Hey, if you guys hands on it, I'm going to say that's on the receiver. It was a no-look pass. The review showed a no-look pass. Did he have to do a no-look pass? Probably not. It was fancy. That's Patrick Mahomes. But I think the ball bounced. The ball was catchable. And if it's a catchable ball, that's on the receiver.
I don't know. I don't think he had to go no-look there. How open was Marcus Kemp? I mean, he was
wide open. He was wide open. I could have thrown a touchdown pass on that.
What are you doing no-look passing there? I don't know what did Mahomes say? Sam McDowell, did Mahomes address that one specifically after the game?
No, we had too many turnovers to go over them one by one, I think.
He did mention it briefly, though. He just said a tad behind, I think, was how he referred to it. And
he described it that it would have gone for a touchdown, right? I mean,
a tad behind it would have gone for a touchdown. I do think, I don't know if this is fair or not, but, his tad behind is coming 100 miles per hour. And, as much as we all come from the school of if you touched it as a receiver, you're supposed to catch it. It's, I think, less easy than maybe we want to assume it is. I think he should have probably caught it. And, of course, the second thing you don't want to do is let it get tipped up in the air from there. And that was, we're not really talking about that play probably if it's just an incompletion.
Yeah, I do think it's all three of those things combined, right? I think that it was a little bit behind. And I think the no look combined with the velocity, there was less reaction time than if he threw at the same speed but was looking and Marcus Kemp's like, oh, okay, ball's coming. You know what I mean? But I think just that combination may have caught him off guard just a teeny bit, and sometimes that's the difference.
I'll remind you that was Marcus Kemp's first target this season on the 8th or 9th offensive snap that he has taken in 3 games. So it wasn't as if that ball was heading toward even Demarcus Robinson or someone else. I saw a comment on Twitter during the game. I'm curious to know what you guys think about this. That this was maybe we've started to see it throughout the season, but today may have been the first time that the Chiefs really missed having a definitive second wide receiver. And it looks like the Chargers, like the Ravens did last week, did everything they could to take Tyreek Hill out of the game. Kelsey was Kelsey until Derwin James got hurt. Kelsey was being shut down again. So it was, they were looking. Kemp is in the game, getting a target, and Demarcus Robinson did his 15-yard reception, turning it into a 10-yard reception. We saw that one, and of course, McCole Hardman had the short pop pass touchdown as well. So, could you make a case that this is a game where they really, really missed a Sammy Watkins like threat among the wide receiver group?
At the risk of just saying the same thing over, where I stand about if you have Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, I'm not going to feel sorry for who you have behind that. You know what I mean? I mean, they could use, and then the Chiefs think they can use somebody else too, right? Because or else they wouldn't have offered that contract to J.J. Smith-Schuster. So they think they have a need there, but still, I mean, they've got enough dudes. They've got enough guys that they should be able to get this done.
All right. So I said we go over each of the turnovers. There was the Tyreek Hill fumble, and as Patrick Mahomes reminded us after the game, he never fumbles, and yet there it was. And then, of all guys to pick out who would not fumble today after the way last week ended, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but there it was. Looked like Charger defender got a shoulder pad or helmet on the ball, and after he got spun around and out it popped, and yet another turnover. So look, Edwards-Helaire ended up. Chiefs ran the ball effectively today. They saw the Chargers played two deep safeties most of the game. They left a lot of basically challenged the Chiefs to run the ball, and they did maybe as effectively as they have all season, right? Edwards-Helaire ended up with 100 yards rushing, first time since Buffalo game a year ago that the Chiefs had a 100-yard rusher in a game. And Mahomes still ended up with 3 touchdown passes and almost 300 yards passing. So they picked up 33 first downs. The Chiefs, that was tied for the fourth most in franchise history today. They moved the ball. I can't think of maybe just 2 possessions that didn't go into Chargers territory, but including that last one. So Lewis writes, wants to know where Jerick McKinnon is. Who was it? Was it you, Sam McDowell, that turned to me and wondered if we were, after that second, after the Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumble, that might have been the last we saw him, but lo and behold, it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, Clyde had a really good day. Other than the fumble, and it's weird to say that because the fumble was such a huge play, but he had a big day. He had his best day of the season for sure. I think I can hear Herbie maybe, but I did wonder because he's fumbled in back-to-back games, and we've seen Andy Reid punish guys with that before. I mean, if you can't take care of the ball, it's hard to see the field, but. What else was interesting about that led to my thinking was Jerick McKinnon and Darrell Williams. We saw them both on the opening drive of the game, which is new. Jerick McKinnon was on there for 3 straight snaps, and then we didn't really see much from him for the rest of the game. So I actually did think we'd see a little bit more of a rotation of the backfield today than what we ended up seeing. But maybe that was the plan. But Clyde was hot, so they were riding the hot hand in the second half.
I think the offensive line did a good job on. For the most part today when it came to opening holes in the running game. A lot of comments on where is Juan Thornhill. And we don't have the snap counts, Herbie. We won't get them until tomorrow morning. But I don't remember seeing it. I certainly don't remember him making a play. I didn't see the defensive stats to see if he was credited with a tackle or anything. But this was absolutely not a Juan Thornhill day, and it's shaping up to be, at least in the first quarter of the season, a non-Juan Thornhill season. But look, the tackling seemed better today. Fewer missed tackles. But I can't vouch for the secondary or the way I thought the overall pass defense was poor. I was actually asking Herbie about the pass defense.
Oh, I'll mute again.
But so were enough lips read during that last comment, Herbie? Did you hear? I was asking about pass defense because we didn't see a lot of Thornhill today.
Not only that, they were also starting the game without Trevarius Ward, who was inactive with quad injury, so they're down to Rashad Fenton, who left the game with a concussion, and now all of a sudden the cornerback group looked pretty bad. Yeah, I think when it comes to Juan Thornhill, and Spags touched on this during his Thursday press conference with us, and the reason why Thornhill didn't see a lot of snaps against the Ravens was they stayed in a lot of base defense, so that means they were in their 4-3. Thornhill sees the field when they switched to a nickel or in their dime package, where they had 3 safeties on the field, and I don't think saw a lot of that look today. The snap counts will tell us that when it's released early Monday morning, and so we'll get a good idea of how many snaps he played on. But I'd be curious to know if it's more than the 11 he played against the Baltimore Ravens.
Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening.
Not exactly a panic time for the Chiefs, is it? I mean, I think based on the comments, a lot of people are angry. I get that. If we had the angry face emoji like we used to for the Chiefs, they'd be flying on the screen right now. Therese used to get a big kick out of the angry face emojis. There's the fact that the Chiefs have lost 2 games, and we can clearly identify why they lost, and they lost in ways that are unusual for them. And look, they still have some patchwork to do on defense for sure. The rushing defense much better today, but it's a different type of team than the Browns and the Ravens. So, Sam Mellinger, what are the fixes fixable here?
I think so. I really do. By the way, this just caught my eye when I was looking through the numbers. Do you know the Chiefs average more yards per rush than per pass today? I would love to know the last time that happened. But I do. I don't know if it's naive, but I do think that the answers are in the room, as they would say. I mean, they've got talented players. But I think that I keep going back to it. They look like a group that got used to winning games with bouts of sloppiness, and that just, screw it, 15 will make up for it, right? They'll find Tyreek on a 4th down or whatever, and that can still happen. They could have beat the Chargers today despite everything that happened. They could have beat the Ravens despite all those mistakes, but they're seeing the other side of it. And I think it's up to them to get diligent and do the stuff that Mahomes was trying to get them to do with the 20-0 thing. And they can do it, but I think that the burden of proof is now on them, which is a weird thing to say after all they've accomplished. But they need to back up what they've been saying, because that hasn't happened for a while now.
But they haven't turned it over like this. That's the thing that's kind of alarming, right? If you look at the Chiefs' turnover ratio, right, they've not only been in the top 10 but the top 5 in the NFL in the Andy Reid era when it comes to turnover ratio, right? Many more takeaways than giveaways, and of course that's what got him over the hump against Cleveland, right? In the opener, the fumble by Chubb and the interception by Mike Hughes sealed that game. Turnovers lost it against Baltimore, and they absolutely lost today's game. And the Chiefs have been so good at creating turnovers over the years and being careful. What did Mahomes have last year? Six interceptions, I think it was 12 in his first year as a starter in 2018, and he 6 or 7 last year. He just never turned the ball over, and he fumbled once in a while, but he wouldn't throw interceptions. And to see, is it 6? Yeah. So to see 3 in the last 2 games, and an ugly one at the end of today, that pass to Kelsey, it looked like Vahe didn't miscommunication. You and I have talked about how they always seem to be on the same page, and in that moment they were absolutely not on the same page.
Yeah, it was, and I wish we could have talked to Travis too, but in hearing Patrick, it was a miscommunication, and it wasn't just a guess. I mean, Patrick, I think the term he used was that Travis. He normally would expect Travis to move farther down the sideline once Patrick resets, because he already had momentum in that direction. And if I understood Patrick right, and I think I did, literally as Patrick was resetting, it was the moment Travis maneuvered the other way. And it's a rare thing, right? We've seen how crazy it can be between them, how they can read their minds. But in this case, it was just a tick off, and that was everything.
Terrence says the pass rush looked better today, but still wasn't good. Better performance by the defense early. That was wasted on the turnovers. Totally agree. I think you're right. The Chargers punted away their first 2 possessions, and then the Chiefs gave away their first 3. And this game could have started so differently for the Chiefs. How about Chiefs they overcome a 2-score deficit in the fourth quarter to beat the Browns. They lose a 2-score lead in Baltimore and lose to the Ravens, and they darn near overcame a 14-0 deficit here to beat a Chargers team that I thought in the preseason was the biggest challenger to the Chiefs. It may end up being the Raiders I don't think so. I still think in the end it's going to be the Chargers. So let's end on this thought, and I'll get from each of you. And maybe we can see if everybody's audio is working the way it should. We'll start with you, Herbie. Anything through 3 games to lead you to believe the Chiefs are not the best team in the AFC West?
No. I tend to agree with Patrick Mahomes said. It's entirely early. When the schedule came out, and this is something I've mentioned a couple times already, we knew the front part of the schedule was going to be tough. You weathered the early part of the storm, and you know what? The second half of the season really favors them, and I just saw that message across the board there. They got to figure out a way also to get Jody Fortson more involved, because I think they would have won this game down in the end.
Yeah, Colin was speaking directly to you, Herbie. Glad to see Fortson into the mix. You and Herbie both. When Fortson had the touchdown, Herbie got up out of his seat, walked around, strutted, I think is a more accurate term, strutted around the press box. Herbie is Fortson's biggest champion. All right, Sam McDowell, how about you? With 1 and 2, last place, right? Chiefs haven't been here in a while.
Yeah, I still think they're going to win the AFC West. It's kind of funny. There were some players that I think were unhappy about the 17-game season when Herbie asked them about it in training camp, and now this team's probably going to be pretty pleased that they're playing 17 games instead of 16. I think they're going to get it figured out, but I think that the worry is the very things that are biting them are the things that we heard a lot in the offseason were the things that they were going to be watching out for. So that I think is concerning, but it's always easier when you actually have film of what's going wrong rather than words about what's going wrong. And now they've got 2 losses on tape. So I think that could wake them up a little bit more. But still, like I said, they've got some problems on the defense, especially with the pass rush, that I think could be long lasting over the course of the season, that they're going to be playing through some holes that maybe we didn't see them have in 2019 in particular, and probably not even as much in 2020.
So, Melly, should we get ready for road playoff games this year?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe if the Ravens get the number 1 seed, they'll lose in the first round again to somebody else. The Chiefs will host a game. The answers are in that room, but the answers need to be found, and I think that the concerning part for me is that they spent this whole offseason talking about more consistent focus, and what we've seen through 3 games is even less consistent focus than we saw last year. And strategically, Sam's right. I mean, the defense, they've got some major stuff. Like it may be a little bit more. The games may have to be won a little bit more like they were in 2018 than Chiefs fans are totally comfortable with. But there are no perfect teams, and I do think it's at least worth. And look, the Chiefs have to fix it, and they've got to live up to their words and all that stuff. But I do think it's worth noting that they literally just fumbled away what I think pretty confidently would have been the game-winning field goal in Baltimore, and they were -4 on turnovers, and they still had a chance here in the last minute. So this team is really hard to beat. You've got to do a lot of things right. So I think that's worth remembering. But gosh, they've got a lot to fix for sure.
Okay, putting Sam down for panic. What do you think? What do you say, Vahe?
I'd echo just a little slice of what each of the Sams was saying. In this sense, these are fixable things. Sure. It's a little weird that the week after they lost a game because of turnovers, they doubled down on the turnovers. And, again, that has not been characteristic of these teams. You would think that is the kind of thing that little emphasis can change. On the other hand, kind of weird that it went this way this week. So I do think, though, that it's all still right here for them, right? I mean, you still have to do it. I still think they've got the parts. And really remember that this just has to be a defense that doesn't offset Patrick Mahomes too much. And I think Patrick Mahomes is still in the prime of his career.
Okay. And like 2018, Mahomes is on 3 touchdown passes in each of the first 3 games. So that would put him on a 51 touchdown pass rate. So that's kind of like 2018. And we'll see. It looks like, as many people have told us here in their comments, that the offense has to have the defenses back at least for a while. And look, in 2019, that was the case the first 2 months of the season when the defense finally came around. Got to see better pass defense. Got to see a better pass rush. Got to get Chris Jones more comfortable at defensive end. Mike Dana, did I miss a sack? I know Mike Dana had one. That may have been it for the Chiefs today. I continue to be impressed with Justin Herbert. We haven't talked enough about him. He came into Arrowhead last year and beat the Chiefs. He's 2-0 in this building and in this stadium, and the Chargers have won 3 of the last 4 years in Kansas City. So that's a little tidbit when we talk about the Chargers. Okay, let's call it a day, you guys. I know they're going to kick us out of this press box here pretty soon anyway. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in and joining us. We'll have Andy Reid health updates as we get them, so just follow along on kansascity.com, and be sure to read Herbie Teope, Sam McDowell, Sam Mellinger, and Vahe Gregorian. Beth Welsh, thanks so much for producing this show, and we will talk to you again on Friday. Keep that in mind. Our little weekly session with these terrific reporters is on Friday at 9:30 a.m. Until then, take care.
That'll do it for today. Thanks to our SportsBeat KC production staff of Beth Welsh, Monty Davis, Jeff Rosen, and Chris Pickett. Tip of the cap to Sam Mellinger, Vahe Gregorian, Herbie Teope, and Sam McDowell for Talking Chiefs. Links to their stories and all the coverage of the Chiefs can be found on kansascity.com and in our show notes today. Hey, and I wanted to call your attention to something new. It's called the Morning Sports Edition. You know about the Stars E-Edition. You probably even get it. That's a replica of the printed newspaper that on your screen that comes with your digital subscription. Well, now there's an updated sports section produced separately that goes along with it. When you open the E-Edition, there's a box in the upper right-hand corner. Click on that, and you can access about 15 to 25 pages of sports. Or maybe you just get the link in your email. Either way, it's access to complete coverage of the previous day's sports news, features, statistics, everything. It's fantastic, especially as baseball season winds down and there are evening football games. Hey, thank you for listening and supporting the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. We'll be back on Tuesday with another episode.